Welcome to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. My name is Michael Cirillo, and each week I sit down with the brightest minds in marketing, sales, and leadership to help you level up your career in automotive. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me today. Now let's open up the playbook. Here we go. He's back, number 3 on the Dealer Playbook Podcast. Glenn Pasch, how you doing, my friend?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing today?
Good. What is that behind you? What kind of a picture is that? Is it a meditation?
I'm actually in my brother's office. That is a person meditating because the picture behind my desk is a comic book cartoon, and it gets very confusing and distracting. So I thought I'd go a little more simple.
Serene. I was like, this is making me feel like I need to take some deep breaths.
I'm bringing peace and tranquility to your audience.
That's good, because I think that feeds in perfectly to what I wanted to talk to you about today. This concept of, first of all, you and I just saw each other a week or so ago in Tampa, Digital Dealer.
Correct.
Fun time, always good to connect. I feel like every time I come back from a conference and I have my post-mortem debrief on the show, something that always kind of comes back into it is this feedback that I hear during the show or after the show from those that attend, which is, yes, it was awesome. It was so good to see everybody. There was a ton of valuable content. Now that the dust is settled, I feel like I had a ton of ideas. I filled out my moleskin filled with new ideas. I get back to my store or I get back to my business and I go, now, where do I start? So, you're somebody that I've always really enjoyed listening to because you have this way of positioning thought processes and the logistics of how things should work. So I want to turn this over to you. Yes, tons of content from SEO to PPC to Facebook to management styles and sales tips and video and yada, yada, yada. As a dealer and the dust settles, how do I know where to start? Like, what do I do?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So I think you take a step backwards even before you get to the conference. I think it's really, if you're going to invest time out of the dealership or you're going to send some of your people to an event, you really have to think about ahead of time, what do we want to accomplish? NADA always seems to be a conference that dealers are going to see what the new technology is, or they'll say, I'm shopping for a CRM, or I'm shopping for a new website platform, and they go with a mission.
Right.
Anything else that they see can be ancillary. They're excited about it, but that's their mission. So if you're going to go to, say, Digital Dealer, I would have sat, if I was a dealer principal, I would have sat and looked at, well, who are these speakers? What are they speaking about? Is there anything that I'm trying to accomplish? It could be something about, BDC, sales training. I'm going to talk to some people and see about, should we do a BDC, or we have a BDC and it's not going as well as I would like, or I've been hearing at my 20 group about Facebook advertising. So I'm going to go talk to people that are doing it, or I'm going to go sit in some sessions to get out of it. The problem, as you alluded to earlier, is they go see all of this and they want to get value out of it. So, a Digital Dealer, there are 10 speakers at every single slot. So a dealer or any of the people could have seen 5 or 6 people a day.
Sure.
Right. And so now over 2 days, I saw 12, 13 and some keynotes, all good things. But if you didn't have that plan in the beginning to say, this is the one thing I'm going to accomplish, you come back with all of these. And the thing that in my mind, what you missed when someone comes back is that stress of, I've been out of the dealership for 2 or 3 days. I have a lot of catching up to do. Mm-hmm. And so that pad gets put over on your pile, and I will get to it, but I'm back, hopefully not putting out fires, but I'm jumping in, answering emails. I have to make decisions. We got to get people back on track, dive in. Where are we at? And all of those things may not get addressed, or you're still in that thought process of debating, well, where do I start? I heard so many good ideas. Everybody sounded great. So if you have a plan in beginning to go find the one thing, every conference, one thing that I want to improve on, yes, you may have other things that you like and that you heard, but if I can find one thing, then I can start to implement that.
Yeah, you know what I like about that is I've tried this so many times. I mean, I have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks and task management systems, whether it's Asana or Trello or whatever. I have dozens of lists of things that I felt like I needed to do, or takeaways, or I have to do that, or I have to do this. And if I were to accumulate all of them at this very moment in time, I probably have a list of 300 or 400 things that in the moment, listening to a presentation or listening to a podcast or whatever, I felt like was the most important thing. Yeah, I need to do that. Or, oh yeah, I need to talk to so-and-so about this. And I think we all kind of get that, our cups were filled, so to speak. But I like what you're saying. Now it's about the plan, because I think you and I have even talked about this on a previous show, and I know I've talked about it with other guests. But it's not that the training is bad, and it's not that the content is bad. It's really good content, but most of the time it's out of sequence.
Right. But if you sit, to your point is, we all have lists, and we have a list to put our list together. That's the funny one. I got my tracking to track all these lists. But when I send some of my employees sometimes to a conference in New York or a local conference, what I make them do is they have to come back and they have to present to the company and say, what did they learn and what could we apply? And I think that's something that if you're sending, if you worked for me, if I was the dealer principal and you're my, say, marketing manager, or you're my sales manager, and I'm sending you to a conference, if you turn to them and said, when you come back, you have to present to me what you saw, what you think we can apply, and then how we apply it, I think that then takes a step further of not waiting. Someone comes in and we get settled. Okay, tell me why I sent you to this conference. What did we get? What are we going to do? Right. I think that helps move that. Especially if you sent them with the sole purpose of, Mike, I sent you to there to find out if we should do X, and who did you see? What did you like? What didn't you like? You can come back and say, what, it reinforced that we're doing the right thing. We just have to maybe work a little harder at it, versus, oh my God, we're completely off base on what we're doing because of that speaker.
Sure.
So I think that helps move it along as well.
What resonates with me is, I think you and I think a lot alike in the sense of most people, and I've been guilty of it in my life as well, but most people, when they set out to do something, their mind is or their sights are fixed on the thing, not what needed to happen before the thing. Right. And this is kind of what I'm getting here is like, okay, so what you're saying is, in order to get the most use out of any education, really, you need to identify what your expectations were. Like, what's the one thing that is going to be of most benefit to me, whether I'm a sales professional, whether I'm a manager. If you're going to one of these shows, or you're listening to podcasts or taking a course or whatever it is, as a manager, you would have needed to sit down and identify for yourself what is your highest priority thing. And plan around that so that you are going to consume the information that will be of best benefit to you.
Right. And I totally agree. So when you came to my session and we were, they were talking about the 4 pods of the Cynefin principle, if you're going, so to your point is, when I'm going, am I going to decide if we should do something or not? Right. So if I'm going there and I'm deciding, should we change the structure? Should we be a one price store? Should we not? Should we have non-commissioned salespeople or commissioned salespeople? Should we, whatever that decision is, if we're rolling it and now I'm going back with options, that's different than saying we are doing this and I need you to go to the conference to find out the best process to do it. So to your point is, if I'm a dealer principal or I'm a manager and I'm sending you, Michael, to go to a conference, and my expectation is you come back with a process, but you think I'm going to figure out if we should do this or not, then there's a disconnect. So to your point is, we could be at, yes, that's our end goal, but realistically, we haven't even gotten there yet. We have to make that decision of, do we even want to do this or not? And going to that conference and talking to other dealers. Maybe you sit at a table at lunch and ask people, well, we're thinking about this. Do you do this? What do you do this? Come back with that feedback as well. So it could be a 2 or 3 step process.
Right. Okay. So that leads me to, you and I talked on the phone a couple days ago, and I mentioned this, and I want to get your take. I think we go to these conferences, and maybe we did make the decision, hey, I'm going to go to this conference or this workshop or whatever it is with this purpose. I want to be able to take, this, whatever information it is, away. But I secretly, like, if I'm being honest, and I'm leveling with you here, not as the moderator of the discussion, but like as me, if I'm being honest, every time I get off the phone with the Glenn Pasches of the world, I'm like, you know what? It'd be even better than us talking about this if Glenn was just sitting right next to me and pointing at things and being like, yes, do that, don't do that. Because I think secretly we all want, like, I can watch a Grant Cardone whatever about how to purchase real estate, but you know what I secretly want? I want Grant to hop on his plane. I want him to fly to where I am and drive around with me looking at real estate deals to tell me which one is actually good and then explaining why it's good or why it's not good. And I think whether it's you talking about this or it's Elise talking about video, email, or Jim Ziegler talking about whatever, whoever it is, we all just secretly want that person. So my question is, I was going to say, my question is, am I normal? But my question is, what kind of checks and balances can I put in place to make sure, or I guess to alleviate that feeling, knowing or breathing confidence within myself that the path I'm taking is the right path?
Well, think of it from working out. You want to get in shape. Some people learn differently, and this is really where you come in terms of self-awareness of what you can and cannot do and what your skill set is. Your skill may be the decision and strategy of why we should do something, but it's not the skill of building it out. I sort of straddle both of those, but I like putting the pieces together, where my brother likes the ideas more than the putting things together.
Right.
So if you're working out, just think about it. Are you disciplined enough to watch a tape every day and do your workout, or to go to the gym and really push yourself with the reps versus having a coach there going, hey, Mike, one more, give me one more, give me one more, give me one more. So always having a coach or a trainer that you connect with and really trust. So having a trainer coming in or someone who's going to hold you accountable, that's why 20 groups evolved, was so that somebody had an accountability. Someone who came there and said, hey, we can't keep coming back to the 20 group and not doing what we said we were going to do. The problem is, inside any business, who is that accountable? That's the problem I see a lot of, is we tend to think at times, well, the person that I'm managing has been doing this for a long time. If I keep asking questions and checking up, they're going to think that I'm condescending or I'm micromanaging, versus, no, my job as that manager is ask the questions every day. That's what I'm supposed to do. So to your point, yes, you'd like to have me or anyone come and work with you, but ultimately the goal should be, anybody you bring in is to help you create a system and build the confidence that you can do it alone. So what I never want to have people dependent on me. I will coach them, but eventually you have to do this on your own. So you may have to call in a coach. You may have to call in a consultant that comes recommended to you, but with a plan of saying, well, if the consultant's coming in, this is what I want out of them, to show me how to do it, to watch me, to make sure I know how to do it. Right. And then when they leave, they check in with me that I'm still doing it. So again, your example, Grant Cardone. Grant flies to you. He talks to you about what he's going to do. He shows you how to do it while you're driving around, and then he watches you do it, and he corrects you, and then he watches you again and goes, you got it now, you don't need me, and then he calls you every single month saying, what's your progress? And eventually he goes, you don't need me anymore. But if you can do that on your own, great. The problem is some people think they can, they get frustrated, or they don't want to invest the money to bring someone in. Oh, that's expensive. Well, how much more expensive is it for you not to do what you're trying to do and to fix this? So it really comes down to that self-awareness of what you're good at, and getting people around you to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, it's kind of that. What's the wise people learn from experience? Super wise people learn from others' experiences.
Exactly.
And then
super wise people hire people around them to do the things that they're not good at.
Yeah, it's like
you can double down on your strengths.
It's like the Henry Ford example that everyone uses, where he's on trial and he pushes the button and he gets the dude and the this and the that. And it gives more context behind that concept of what is it? You're in the average of your 5 closest friends or something like that. But to expand upon that, it's more about who is your circle of influence, to your point, to fill in those gaps. Well, self-awareness, though.
As you asked me if you're normal.
Yeah. I mean, well, and maybe the aha moment for me here is that my self-awareness is such that I know in some things I really do need a coach. I really need, if I'm going to venture into something that I've never done, maybe that is the self-awareness, and I think that's okay. Do you think we live in a bit of a culture, a society where it's like, oh, you can figure that on on your own? Well, you must be a moron. I work 18 and a half hours a day, and therefore I've taught myself everything I know. It's like, dude, if you're really being honest, you didn't teach yourself everything you know.
No, I think there are people that learn and who are disciplined and can learn that way. I think from what I've done in building my company is I literally look at and say, what am I good at? What do I like? What is good? And then surrounding myself and hiring people to do things that, could I do it? Okay, maybe. Do I want to spend my time learning it? That's the bigger issue. So, for marketing, I understand digital marketing, but I have people way smarter than me to do it, rally it up, because I'm better at certain things than they are. I can go talk about it. I can go teach it. But, in terms of going to break down analytics, I can get in there, but I don't get off on it that way, where some of these people are like, oh, let me in. Oh, look what I found. And, so you want to go find that person that is as excited as you are about what you do, and they're just as excited and crazy about the things that you hate doing.
Sure.
Put them all together, and that's what makes a good team.
Leveraging each other's strengths rather than amplifying their weaknesses.
Yeah, think about it like a sports team. Again, you have a quarterback and you have somebody else who is a lineman for football or baseball. You have a pitcher, you have a catcher. Could a pitcher play the outfield? Yeah, but is that really what they're great at? No. So you have to maximize your results. Yeah, you can fill people in. And to your point earlier, the people who think they can do everything are going to be doomed to their limitations of their ego, because you can't do everything. You just can't, unless you have one thing and you're like, hey, I only do this one thing and I do it really, really well and I don't need anyone else. Okay, but how is that going to scale? Versus I have a team of people, I need to surround myself, and letting go. This is the other thing, is for the people who feel that they're, hey, I can do this, letting go. And in dealerships, I see it a lot of managers. It's really tough. It's really tough. I just had this conversation half an hour ago with someone, and I said, it's really tough for you to let things go because you think that you do it better than everyone else. But I'll take 80% of someone else doing it, of how good it is, because that frees you up to do multiple other things. But it is very tough when you think you're really good, because I know you. I'll guarantee you there's parts of your business that were really tough for you to let go and let someone else do it and trust that they could do it without going, I think, hey, do you want to do this? I could do this. And they're looking at like, dude, leave me alone.
I mean, that's how the agency started, right? You wear multiple hats, and then you get to the point where you're like, cool, I don't know if I like myself anymore because all you do is work. And then you bring somebody on, and that's painful, and you want to take over again because it's all you. Yeah, I mean, that's normal, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for getting used to the pain associated with bringing other people on to do what I do.
But there should be, at least for me, there's a flip. Like I just put somebody in a position to be over the office, and they're taking a lot of stuff off of my plate. And there is a little withdrawal of going, but now it's exciting to be able to say, look how much time that freed up now for me to do. Wow, look how much more I could do, and I can do to do what I'm good at, which is grow the business and make these contacts versus worrying about all these other things that I had to do, but I had to wait till somebody was ready to take it over. And now it's, thank you, check in, how are things going? And now I can't wait for the next 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, well, yeah, there is definitely a flip because what I found is, what's the term? The phrase jack of all trades, master of none.
Correct.
And so you go through this phase of, it's painful to start offloading the things that you were so used to doing to somebody else. But the difference is they have that maybe one thing and things associated to their sphere of influence or whatever to do. And you quickly get to this point where they become better at that thing and more efficient because while they were focusing on that, it freed you up and you were able to focus on other things. So just to kind of recap where we've arrived at, before even, in order to get the most out of education, in order to alleviate some of the pain associated with, going to conferences and not knowing where to start and the overwhelm and all these sorts of things, and even probably before the planning, before the education, is the self-awareness to know what it is that to be able to prioritize what is going to be of most benefit for you, which turns into a plan, which turns into going with purpose or being educated with purpose, which allows you to execute more efficiently on the back end and actually accomplish the things that you want to accomplish.
Right. It's a why. There should always be why. Why am I going to this conference? Why am I going? Is it to, as I said earlier, is it to figure out if we should do something? Is it I'm going to look at a product? I'm going to figure out a process. I'm going to meet someone that's going to turn into, for a vendor, I'm going to schedule this meeting because they're going to be there and then this should launch into something else. But it is that awareness always, and it is a very delicate balance because it is worried about, because dealers say this all the time, because we've run conferences and it's, I can't afford to have people out of the office. I can't afford to send that many people. And so my little side New Jersey semi-smart ass person says to that person, what if the person had food poisoning, right? They went out, they ate, they had food poisoning, and they're just out of commission for 3 days. They're not in your building. Do you shut down your business, right? Well, no, because we have other people to cover. So what's the difference between sending them there? So it's either you don't think that the money so it's not really being out of the office. It's the spending of the money. Mm-hmm. Is it going to generate value? I'm going to spend money for airfare. Are you just going to be screwing around? I'm going to send you to Vegas. They're not going to go. How do I know if you're doubting that the person is going to go to conferences with a mission, then you're sending the wrong person, right? But if you have that plan of saying, I'm sending you, Michael, because I trust you and I need your help to go look at this, this, and this, or send multiple people because look at all the sessions that we could solve. Service, we can solve this. Sales, we can solve this. Marketing, we can solve this. Send them all. It's the key about when they come back and how they present, because most of them don't, because I've asked that. So what happens when they come back? Well, they go back to work and we talk, but there's no real set plan to say, what did we learn? What are we going to try? How is this going? So that you can get your ROI from sending them to the conference, because we did come up with a good idea. But it is that awareness, it is that confidence of saying, you have a purpose for going. I have a purpose for going. Yes, we're going to have fun, but this is what we want to accomplish to help our dealership. And then when we come back, there has to be that meeting to say, now what do we do with this information? And I think that's the piece that we early on we talked about, is that piece doesn't get scheduled because it gets swamped over with all of the rushing around. And I've been out and there's so many emails and we got to catch up. But if you've been running your dealership or your business correctly, you should have been checking in with them all the time. There shouldn't be this overwhelming, holy God, I've been out and the world's on fire.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think we're afraid. I can speak to my own experience. There's times when I'm afraid of having another meeting. And when I really dig into why that is, yes, I mean this and that, and meetings are so easily swept under the rug because of, all the tasks you have to do, the day-to-day routine, the monotony of it all.
But they're crappy meetings. That's why
they're crappy meetings. That's exactly
you're not
what
scheduled,
I was going to say.
Again, if you're listen, you could have 5-minute meetings. That's why you've read these books where people go, I have meetings standing up. So nobody sits down, or, you have 5 minutes, make your point. The problem is that these meetings you have, I mentioned this too in my session, was you have the wrong people sometimes at the meeting, right? So if I'm discussing, should I do a podcast? Should I do a podcast, right? That's a debate. I don't need to have the person who would actually go build out and figure out how to do it. Why are they sitting at that meeting? They're just going, this is a complete waste of my time. Sure. Or on the flip side, if I have a meeting with somebody who says, I'm going to figure out how to do this, why would I have somebody in there about debating about it? So there's that, but there's so many crappy meetings. There's so many meetings that go
and
off.
Nothing happens from them.
Well, and the best lesson I ever learned from meetings was there should always be 5 minutes at the end to say, what are we doing from this meeting? Who's in charge, right? What decisions did we make? Who's rolling this out? Who's accountable to it? But that's the problem of people coming back and doing that, and they're going, we're going to have another meeting. Or, I don't really know. I like the idea, but I don't know if Mike likes it.
Right.
You got to schedule. You got to make a decision. You have to try. And if you're not always trying to improve your business is going backwards, or it's standing still, either one, but your competitors are moving past you.
Which is kind of the same thing.
Exactly. So again, it really comes down to, all of this comes down to really decision. It's dedicated into, I have to put this into play, and we're going to try this, or we're going to schedule this, and we're going to talk about it. But all the way going back, one thing. Mm-hmm. One thing, 2 things at the most, not 15. We can't change 15 things. There's absolutely no way. Hard enough to change one thing when you have a team of people, let alone 5.
Yeah. So, and you know what, to sum all of that up too, you and I could demonstrate the shortest ever meeting on planet Earth. Go ahead and ask me, Glenn Pasch, should you do a podcast? And I'll tell you my answer.
Should I do a podcast?
Yes. Meeting adjourned, right?
There we go. Done.
Simple. The fastest meeting ever. 7 seconds. Man, this has been so much fun. For those of you listening, definitely get in touch with Glenn, to learn more about this. If you haven't checked out Glenn's book, The Power of, what is it? United Marketing? Connected
Marketing.
Connected. I was about to,
I was
like, so close.
United.
We're going to link that up in the show notes over at thedealerplaybook.com. Glenn, how can the listeners and viewers get in touch with you?
Sure. They can just email me, Glenn at pcgcompanies.com. They can find us, pcgcompanies.com, look at our website. And really where my part of this was so exciting to me, because where I'm getting a lot of interest and calls and people are bringing me in to solve this problem is they have enough vendors. It's how do I get my team to do it? And there are people out there who are really good, but they focus on one piece. And it's really, my goal is really working with the strategy at the top to say, here's how we make these decisions, and then here's how they funnel through. But ultimately, it sits with the people who are running the teams and leading the teams. They just don't get a lot of training, and they don't have a lot of investment. They funnel most of their trainers way down at the front lines, which is good, but who's training the people at the top? And that's what I'm really focused on, to help dealers and general managers with their strategic thinking of how they implement things and help their people get better.
Love it. Thanks so much for joining me on the show.
My friend, always, anytime. Look forward to seeing you.